All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we got to talk about Sealed. We got to talk about OP07 Sealed coming up very soon, guys. This is going to be a prep video for anyone who's going to be taking place in the pre-release tournaments on this Friday in the West for OP07. We got to get y'all prepared. We got to talk about some cards. And if I miss anything, please help me out down in the comment section below so that way I don't miss it for when I do my Sealed draft, right? Because I will be participating as well, of course. And guys, OP07 is here. It's coming out Friday. Now, one thing I have to say, one thing I do have to mention is pre-release comes out a week before the actual set is going to be released. So remember, this OP07 comes out on June 28th. Today's date is June 17th, all right? At least at the time of me recording this video, right? Yeah, June 17th. And the pre-release is going to be on the 21st. So you won't be able to order cards, directly. I mean, I don't know if pre-sale orders are a little bit different, but you won't be able to just straight up order the cards until the 28th. Just giving you guys a heads up. All right, let me give you guys a quick layout of how this video is going to go. First, we're going to be talking about what is sealed for some of the newer players. And don't worry, guys, I will have everything timestamped below. You'll be able to hop to wherever you want to in the video. Okay. First, we're going to be talking about what is sealed. For the newer players, well, what is sealed, right? We have to figure it out. We have to know. We'll learn together. We're going to go from there to the bulk of the video. The majority of the content for this video will be me going over every single card in OP07 very quickly and me telling you this is a good card for Sealed, this is not a good card for Sealed, right? I'll try and make it as quick as possible because we're going to go over every single card. Okay, then from there, we'll finish off with a game on the sim, just for good measure, of course. It's a game of Red Blue Marco. Okay, very cool leader, very fun game. So you know what you're getting into, guys. Of course, there's going to be some spoilers. We're about to have access to OP07 over in the West. So really good stuff. I cannot wait. All right, so let's dive into this. Again, if I missed anything, please help me out in the comment section below. And if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please put them down there. Okay? Don't be a stranger, right? Don't be a stranger. All right, let's hop into this, guys. We got a lot to talk about. Not on this page, though. Okay, this is OP07. The release date is June 28th, like I said. So we're getting June 21st for the pre-release. Okay, so now, what is a pre-release? I'm going to link two videos down in the comment section below. Actually, I'll probably just link this first one here of me explaining 9 months ago what is a sealed format. Because in a pre-release, guys, you typically are not going to get access, you're not going to get access to any cards except what you get in about 6 packs. Okay, so you can't bring cards from other sets. You're only going to have 6 booster packs to build a deck with. We'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. I will link this in the comment section below if you want to know what I have to say on that, and I do a deep dive into what the sealed format is. Okay, I might link this one as well. I thought about it, but this is also talking about it all the way back in OP04. Okay, so real quick, this is going to be a concise, shortened, condensed version of sealed format rules. I'm going to blast through this, so hang on tight. Here we go. In sealed format, players each open a set number of booster packs from specified sets, OP07 in this case, right? And they'll build their decks using only the cards they open. Like I said, you can't bring any other cards. Unlike standard play, you can ignore the normal deck building color restrictions based on your leader and can include cards of any color in your deck. And there are additional special rules for deck building. The other main special rule to consider is anything that is still type locked does apply. So, for example, if you're trying to play out a card that requires your leader to be Baroque Works or something, right? Well, guess what? If you play out that character and try to get the effect and your leader is not Baroque Works, it won't work. Okay, you can't do it. So just so you understand, there are still some stipulations, but they're pretty rare, to be honest. There's not a whole lot of them. And like I said, that's down here. Go ahead and pause the video right here if you want to read all this part right here, but I'm not going to go over this part, okay? Okay, next. There are going to be 6 packs you get from OP07 to make a 40-card deck from. Okay, see right here? This is it right here. This is what I'm talking about. After opening your 6 packs, you're going to build a 40-card deck. Bring your own Dawn cards. Guys, do not forget your Dawn cards. It's not going to be the end of the world. There will be other ways to, compensate if you don't have your Dawn cards. I don't think it was going to freak out. But bring your Dawn cards. It just saves everybody a headache. And bring what leader you want to run. Let's talk about leaders very quickly, and I'll probably, actually, let me say that until we get into the actual bulk of the video, because, Dragon will be the first leader we see, because I'm just going in color order, and we'll talk about leaders right then. Okay, and then, of course, it's going to be a Swiss format, where you just keep battling until there's an undefeated player, and that person will win, right? And, hey, that's why we have to do stuff like this. We got to get prepped for these sealed tournaments so we can win our pre-release cards. Very cool stuff there. Like there's going to be there's typically a pre-release winner card. All right. I don't know how everyone's store is, but that's how it's been at my local stores. Hopefully it's the same at yours. One last thing I want to talk about is sideboards. There is actually sideboarding in draft. Excuse me. Cards that are not used in the deck are treated as sideboard cards. In other words, when you open your 6 packs, any of the extra cards are now your sideboard cards. And in between your games, not during the game, but in between your games, players can exchange cards in their deck with cards in their sideboard. Players can exchange as many cards between decks and the sideboard as they like, so long as they have a legal number of cards in their deck, as long as they stick to 40 cards. It didn't say anything about the leaders. I don't think you can change your leader, though. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I do not believe you can change your leader once you've decided that. But I'm not exactly sure. I've never tried it. I don't know why you would, right? Because you kind of pick your leader beforehand. It's more of a preference thing in sealed. It's not even a matter of anything else. Okay, so that's that, guys. There is a sideboard that you can use. Like, say you have a card that you thought was going to be really good, but it ended up being absolutely terrible. Maybe you misread something. Well, after your first game, just take that card out and put a new one in. Okay, so that's what sealed is in a nutshell. Like I said, I will link something in the comment section below for another video doing a deep dive on sealed. But that's pretty much all you need to know, to be honest. Okay. Now, for the majority of this video, for the bulk of this video's content, we are going to be going over all the cards in OP07. I'm going to tell you which cards I think are good, bad, not so much, somewhere in between, and stuff like that. Let's start off with the leaders. This will take me probably the longest part of this video. Let's talk about leaders. There are really 3 or 4 leaders that you should stick with if you're trying to be competitive. If you're trying to have fun, pick whatever leader you want to. I always go to sealed tournaments with black, yellow, Linlen, obviously, right? Just common sense. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I do. I do actually go to sealed tournaments with black, yellow, Linlen. But the 4 leaders that everyone kind of tends to flock to are Eustace Kid, because he can attack twice, right? Zorro, because his effect is so generic, it just gives power to everything on the board. And they're both those are both 5 life leaders. And then most recently, it has shifted over to Enel. Enel is a very, very strong leader in sealed because you're gaining life. Okay, that is a huge deal. Yamato, also, that was the 4th one, is a very strong leader because you're double attacking on your leader's effect. Now, some locations might force you to run the multicolor Luffy where it's like all the different colors, but I don't think so. I'm not sure because first of all, it's hard to even get your hands on that card. But if they do force you to run that, then you're stuck with it. It is what it is. That's house rules. I don't get to make any decision there. Excuse me. But another card, one more leader I want to talk about is a leader we're going to be talking about in this set, and I think it's Bonnie. I think Jewelry Bonnie is actually a very, very strong draft leader because every time your opponent goes to attack you, you're going to get to tap down one of their characters, and now you can fight for board control, and it's a 5 life leader. 5 life in sealed is a massive deal, guys. It's a huge deal. The reason Enel gets around it is because Enel actually Enel has at least 5 life, right? Because he's going to get that first effect off, so that's going to count as if he had 5 life. Excuse me. But then on top of that, he might even get more. And then Yamato gets around that because she says, I don't care that you have 5 life. I'm just going to start beating through your life 2 hits at a time. And in sealed, remember, you're not going to have a constructed deck like you would in standard. So how many sealed cards are you going to have in there? Or excuse me, not sealed, trigger cards are you going to have in there? They're all going to be from your sealed deck or from your your 6 packs. Okay, so now talking about the leaders in this set, Monkey D. Dragon is not a bad selection, to be honest. Especially if I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head how many effects in here require you have Dawn, like how many character effects have Dawn requirement attached to the character. If there are a lot, or if you draft a lot, then this leader is actually incredible, right? It's a 5,000 power, 5 life leader, so it's already in the range to be a solid leader for sealed. But being able to attach to, think of it like this, guys. If you swing for 7 with your leader, then you can attach 2 to someone else, right? To one of your other characters and go from there. So that's actually a very big deal. Very, very big deal. Okay, let's keep going. We're not going to talk about alt-arts. Ein. This card, excellent, excellent, excellent for sealed. You're going to be able to drop a 7 cost 6,000 power body and just make one of their characters a 0. So any card they have sideways, if you can play this afterwards to make it a 0, there's almost no way that card's going to survive. And it doesn't matter how big the card is. So this card, excellent for sealed. Outlook here, this is not a good card for sealed. It is a 2-cost 1k counter at least, but it has 0 power, so it's not really great for sealed. And the activate main is nothing crazy. Give up to 2 of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. after you trash the character. So I would almost see this card as an event that also has a 1k counter attached to it, where you can just pay 2, trash the card, and give 2 characters minus 2,000 power for the turn. It's not horrible, but this is going to be saved as reserve if we have no other better spots in the deck. Curly Dedan, okay, trash 1 card from your hand, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 character with 2,000 power or less and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. This is a little too specific unless you can somehow reach that effect. If you have tons of cards in your deck, which you shouldn't have a lot of cards in your deck that are 2,000 power or less in a sealed draft ever. That's more for constructive, not great for draft. Karina, 3 costs, 0 power blocker, 1k counter. That is huge. Guys, I almost forgot to put this on the screen. I did forget. Notice what I have at the bottom left of the screen, guys. All the way over here. Y'all see it right here? These are the kind of cards you're looking for when you're constructing a draft deck. Bruisers, blockers, that's what this card is. Cards with counters, especially 2k counters, you're going to want to focus on. Cards that have removal, and cards that can draw you cards. That is the main thing we're going to be looking for. That is your 5-card criteria. For those who have not seen my deck building guide talking about using the 5x10 method, the same thing applies in in sealed, but it's really like, it's not exactly a 5x10. It's like most of your deck needs to consist of bruisers and blockers, and then whatever counters, removal, and draw you can add to it, add it, because those are much more rare. It's very hard to find good removal and draft, guys. It is what it is, right? Card draw as well is hard to find. 2k counters is not as bad, but it can, depending on the set, it can be very hard to find as well. Okay, but Karina here, this is a blocker, okay? And it's a 1k counter, so this is a solid card to get for draft. Alt art. Stary, this is a 1-cost 1k. You want to stay away from stuff like this, guys, unless the effect is insane. And this one has, on play, you may give one of your active leaders minus 5,000 power during this turn, and then draw 1 card and trash card from your hand. It is card draw, but you're sacrificing your leader's attack for the turn to do it. You can try it, but I don't think it's great. Okay, 4 costs, 6,000 power, 1k counter vanillas. Vanillas are insane, guys. Vanillas in sealed are excellent. Snag these, as much of these as you can, especially the 4 cost and up ones. 3 cost is as low as you should go, probably for vanillas, unless you have no other choice. But a 4 cost 6k, excellent for sealed. Excellent. Okay, Mr. Tanaka, 3 cost, 3,000 power blocker. Trigger, play this card. It's a trigger. That is one more thing I should add to this, like draw / trigger at the end there for the little things I have over here on the left. Triggers are very solid in sealed because you know there's not many of them, so you can really offset a match with this kind of card, like with a trigger card. Now it doesn't have a counter, which does hurt, but at the same time it is a 3 cost 3k blocker that can potentially come into play from your life. Solid card in draft. Dalgara and Magra, 2 cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter. On play, up to one of your red characters with the cost of 1 gains double attack. This is not the kind of card you want to run for draft. It is at least close to vanilla stats, being like a 2 cost 4k, but honestly, I would stay away from a card like that. Baccarat, this card is excellent. 3 costs, 4,000 power, 1k counter, and a blocker. So this is everything we want in a sealed type of format. Then on your opponent's turn, you can trash a card to give a character or leader plus 2,000 for the battle. Excellent. This card is excellent. Again, and we're talking about for sealed, right? And this card is probably just good in general, but definitely snag these if you find them in your draft picks. Blue Jam, 4 costs, 5,000 power, 1k counter, so that's a solid bruiser body. Dawn ×1, when attacking, K up to one of your opponent's characters with 2,000 power or less. It's not bad. This is actually like an upscale of a vanilla card, in my opinion. This is a good pick for sealed. Porchemy, 2 costs, 3,000 power, 1k counter. On play, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 1,000 power during this turn. Not great, but it is okay if you have no other better options. Not a great card, though. Typically in sealed, let me just say this to you guys real quick. When it comes to sealed, you're pretty much ignoring the first turn. I'm going to be honest. Like, it's okay if you have something to play on the first turn, but it's really once you get to the mid-game in sealed where you start running away with the game. When you get down like a 3 cost 5k, a 4 cost 6k, a 5 cost 7k, then you can actually start making some really big decisions on the board. Okay, next up is Masked Deuce. This is a 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1k counter. Okay, on play, if your leader is Porkos the Ace, top 5 search. Searchers are not great in sealed, guys. I would not recommend it. 1 cost, 0 power, 2,000 counter, 2k counter, you grab this, okay? It doesn't matter what the effect is. Yeah, this one has to do with Porkos the Ace. Who cares? The main thing is you're going to be grabbing this, okay, for your... Now, if you go Ace, I guess, like, I don't know, maybe there's a... I'm not even going to go down that path, guys. That's not what this video is for. Generally speaking, you're going to grab this card, though, no matter what, because it is a 2k counter. Okay, then we got to talk about the big bruisers, the bosses. These cards, you just grab no matter what. In sealed, bigger is better, just period. Because there's not dedicated removal, right? Unless you somehow sealed it, like if you got it in your sealed packs. So a card like this is an absolute banger. You definitely want this card. Okay, Alt Art. Galaxy Wink. Events also are very... It depends. Let me read through it real quick. Up to one of your Revolutionary Army type characters gains plus 2,000 power. Okay, so we don't want it. Anything that's really specific like that, we don't actually want that. We don't want it at all. Dragon Breath, 2 cost, main, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less, and up to one of your opponent's stages with a cost of 1 or less. Trigger activates the main. Not really what we're going for in sealed. The main is not horrible. If you don't get any other removal in your sealed, I would snag this because you might be able to pop a smaller blocker. Okay, not horrible. Keep out. This is a 1 cost. Okay, up to one of your Revolutionary Army type characters gains plus 2,000 power. Not great. Not really what we're going for. Jewelry Bonnie. Again, I'm not going to spend as much time on all the leaders now, but I will tell you Jewelry Bonnie is a very, very solid leader to use in OP07, guys, in sealed. I'm not saying it's better than an L. I'm not saying it's better than the others that people know are good, but you guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. I think this leader in sealed is actually going to be like, you know, thumbs up, very, very solid. Okay, there's the alt art. All right, 5 cost, 6,000 power, no counter, but this is a blocker. And then on KO, if your leader has Fishman type, play something. Okay, so it's like leader locked in that way to a Merfolk, or excuse me, a Fishman type leader. This card you could probably still play because it's a 5 cost, 6k blocker. For that reason alone, it is okay to play if you can't find any other better blockers. Uruj. This card is incredible, guys. This is a 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter blocker. End of your turn, set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. This is going to allow you to like use events in your deck, potentially, like defensive events. And guys, if you choose to go Bonnie as your leader, I'm going to say this, guys. If you bust open an Uruj in your deck, like, or excuse me, in your, in your sealed cards, I would probably try out Bonnie that tournament and see how good it is with Uruj. I think it's that relevant. I think it's that worth going. Very, very solid. Otama, this is a 2k counter, so we take it every time. Yes, it can only search for Greenland and Wano, but we're not really worried about that. We just want as many 2k counters as we can get our hands on in a sealed. I would say at least up to like 10. I don't know if I'd go past 10 in a sealed draft. That might be too many. And you guys tell me if y'all know the perfect ratio of 2k counters. Because, guys, I've had sealed drafts where I only got 2k counters. So, yeah, if you can get somewhere between like 7 to 10 2k counters, I think you're going to be in a really good spot. Okay, Caribou, here we go. Another blocker, guys. 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter. Blocker. If you have 6 or more Rested Dawn cards, it gets plus 1,000 power. That doesn't even matter. That's just a perk. This is an auto-include. And this one's uncommon. Uruj is a rare. This one is an uncommon. You definitely want to snag this if you can get your hands on it. Koala, 2 costs, 0 power, 1k counter. On your opponent's attack, you may rest this character up to one of your Fishman type. Okay, so this is locked to a certain type. Not really worth running. Unless you somehow just get, like I said, unless you're like a pro at drafting, but then, hey, what are you doing? Listen to me at that point anyway. Okay, Caribou. 3 cost, 3,000 power on play. Play up to 1 Caribou. So this is Caribou, and this plays out a Caribou with a cost of 4 or less. Did we already do that one? Is it coming up? I don't know. Generally speaking, you don't want this card. It's understated, and it has no counter. And it also requires... The on-play effect's probably worthless unless you have like a very specific card. Now, this card is an SR. Most SRs you are going to want to run, right? They're super rare for a reason. This one is incredible. Jewelry Bonnie, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter. It's almost vanilla statted, guys. And then listen to this effect. On play, up to one of your opponent's rested characters or Dawn cards will not become active in your opponent's next refresh phase. So you're locking down their Dawn to keep them off of a play, potentially, or one of their characters so you don't have to deal with it that turn. Okay? Very, very solid, by the way, guys. Auto-include. If you get this, you just run it. Okay, another 4 cost, 6k vanilla, guys. Absolutely, you want to run these. Wow, okay, 6 cost, 8,000 power vanilla and sealed is outstanding, guys. You definitely want a card like this in there. Okay? Yeah. And again, guys, if you draw an Uruj or a Basil Hawkins, you might... Well, okay, excuse me. Basil Hawkins only requires your leader to be Supernova. So you could go Eustace Kid, because that is also a green... It's a green... okay, excuse me. The color doesn't matter in sealed. But it is a Supernova leader. Okay? So running Basil Hawkins... Or excuse me, if you do get Basil Hawkins or Uruj, you should probably try out either Bonnie or Eustace Kid. Really good stuff there. Okay, Alt Art. Papag, 2k counter, auto-include. Okay, Bartolomeo, 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1k counter blocker. With your turn, once per turn, if a character is rested by your effect, draw a card and trash a card. Who cares about the effect? That's just icing on the cake. This is a nice 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1k counter blocker. Auto-include. Excellent card. Okay, this is another auto-include here. 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter. This character can attack characters on the turn in which it is played. Not only is this a bruiser, not only is this a 1k counter, this is also a removal for the most part. Like, you're going to be able to swing on the turn you play it. Awesome. Now, the on-play effect has to do with if your leader is Fishman or Merfolk. We don't have to worry about that. But, guys, this is a rare for a reason. Definitely want to include this if you get it. Monkey D. Luffy, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter. If you have 3 or more characters, your characters with a cost of 3 or less, other than Luffy, cannot be KO'd by your opponent's effects. It's just a good card, but it's not really... If you can't find any other like decent cards to put here, yes, you can use it, right? I mean, use what you want to, guys. Always use whatever you want to. But the effect is pretty much dead, right? The effect is... like, there's not a... I don't know. I don't want to say it. Never mind. If you can somehow get 3 or more characters on the board and put this down, it's going to protect all of your little blockers that cost 3 and less. So it is a very solid card. But I'll tell you right now, guys, it's not like insane. It's not like a card you're like hoping you get in a pack, unless you drafted nothing but 3 cost blockers, right? But yeah, not a bad card, but it's also not crazy. Okay, Zoro, same idea here. If you have 3 or more characters, this character gains plus 2,000 power during this battle. This is probably the best 1-drop you're going to see in a draft in a sealed format. You just have to keep building your board so you can get this character's effect. This is one of the few low-cost characters I would recommend getting. Very solid. Karmic Punishment. Up to one of your leader or characters gains 2,000 power during this battle. Then if you have 3 or less, or excuse me, if you have 3 or more characters, that card gains an additional plus 1,000 during this battle, and KO can pop a 4 or less that's rested. This is a solid card, and again, if you get Urouge in your pack, this is a common event. You'll probably snag this. Definitely want to go for a card like this as a counter, because it's a 1 cost 2k. That's potentially a 3k, and then the trigger can pop stuff. Awesome card for sealed. Demonic Aura 9 sword style Asura Demon 9 flash. You know, obviously this card, it's a 2 cost. Up to one of your leader or characters gains plus 3,000 power during this turn. Then you may rest one of your opponent's characters. Then you may rest one of your characters with a cost of 3 or more. Okay. If you do, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. And then the trigger rests of 4 or less. So, it's a 2 cost plus 3,000 power event that can potentially tap down one of your opponent's characters. This is not a bad card. It's a rare, but I feel like it's very situational. I don't think it'll be great for a draft, because you're also going to want to attack with your characters, right? It's a little situational. That's all I'm going to say. You guys pick and choose this one as you see fit for whatever you pull in your deck. More pizza. This is a searcher. Like I said, guys, searchers are not really great, even though there are a lot of supernovas that we saw in here. Because remember, this is supernova, 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 supernova. There are quite a few. Bart supernova, Basil, Scratchman, not Jinbei, Jewel Ribani, and where was the first guy we had? It was Urouge. So there's quite a few in here, but I would not focus on getting searchers, guys, unless you just have no other option. The trigger is nice, though, to draw a card. Boa Hancock. Again, because this is sealed, this leader is not great. I mean, maybe in future sets, if there's a set in the future that just has tons and tons of removal or bounce effects, this would be good, but generally speaking, this is not a great leader effect for sealed. Okay, 4 costs, 5,000 power, 1k counter, Edward Weevil. Dawn ×1, when attacking, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck and place them back in any order. So this is a great card in sealed, because there's, like I told y'all, there's not a ton of removal. There's always going to be some, but there's not a ton of removal. So you will typically get this effect off at least once per game if you can get him down. Excuse me. Very solid. Crocodile, 2k counter, 4 costs, 5k body, and then an added effect on top of that. Absolutely include this. Gloriosa, Grand Mal Nyan, 1 cost, 0 power, 1k counter. Top 5 search for these cards, not really worth including. 5 cost, 6,000 power card here, no counter, but once per turn, if your leader is 7 Warlords of the C-type, and this character would be removed from play, or removed from the field by opponent's effect, you may place one of your characters other than Gekko Moria at the bottom of your deck instead. If you just need a 5 cost, 6k beater, I'd run this, but the effect is probably not realistic unless you're running a 7 Warlords leader. Okay, this is for if you're running Boa Hancock. I'd try to avoid that. Draco Mihawk, this card is insane for sealed, guys. This is an 8 cost, 10,000 power body. It does not have a counter, but on play, draw a card. This card absolutely cracked for sealed. Jinbei, not a great card for sealed. Okay, unless you just drew enough 7 Warlords of the C-type cards, like where was that one guy? well, either these Edward Weevil or Crocodile. Like, if you got a bunch of those, maybe you might want to try Jinbei. But, guys, this can only cheat out certain kinds of cards, so when it comes to sealed, it's not exactly great. It's at least a 4-cost 5K with a 1K counter. That's not horrible, but let's try to get more if we can. If you have no other option, of course, run it. Okay, Sengoku, top 5 Searcher. Again, this kind of goes in the same lines what I was saying with Jinbei. If you somehow got a bunch of 7 Warlords of the C-type characters, you might want to run a Sengoku, but I think you're going to be able to put better stuff in your deck. Okay? Okay, another 2K counter, 7 Warlords of the Sea. Like I said, it's possible. It is possible. This one's a rare, and so is Croc, right? This was a super rare with Jinbei. And by the way, this, you know, Mihawk is 7 Warlords of the Sea as well. Whereas this Crocodile is an uncommon, so I would definitely go for this one, and Edward Weevil's a common. So maybe there is a world in which the Jinbei and the Sengoku actually work out very well. But yeah, Trafalgar Law here, 2K counter, auto includes. Super good. Not so much this one, though. I mean, again, I hate to, you know, beat a dead horse here, keep saying the same thing over and over again, but I would not run this card unless you absolutely have to, where it's like, okay, I just drew so many 7 Warlords of the C-type cards, I just had to run it. I just don't see that in a draft. It just doesn't really work like that. Buckin, again, I would not run this card in sealed. There's just no combo value to it when it comes to sealed. 2K counter, auto include. Boa Hancock, if you pop this, then congrats, because this is a very solid card as well, guys. It is a 6-cost, 8,000 power body. Massive and sealed, and it's going to lock your opponent's character down for the turn as long as it's not Luffy. And you might be able to bottom deck a Searcher or something they might have had early, whatever 1 cost they might have had. Okay. And big grats if you get this one, right? If you get the manga, very nice. Okay, now here's Boa Marigold, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good bruiser body for sealed. And then on play, if you have 2 or more Amazon Lily or Kuja Pirates type characters, place 1 character with a cost 2 or less of the bottom owner's deck. That on play effect is probably not going to come into play. But if you don't have any other access to solid like vanilla cards, this is a good card still. This ace is excellent. So this is a draw card effect. Now I can't remember. I can't recall off the top of my head. We only saw a few. I think maybe 1 or 2 cards that had draw potential. This is an outstanding card. It's a rare for sealed. 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter, and blocker. That alone would have been worth running in a sealed. But then it also has on play, draw 2, put 2 on the bottom of your deck in any order. Top or bottom of your deck in any order. So this card, outstanding for sealed. Marguerite. Now, this is a great card for sealed because look at that on play, guys. It's a 3-cost, 2K counter, or 2,000 power card. Who cares? Blocker and draw card on play. Outstanding. If you come across, it is a rare, but if you come across this card, you snag it. This is a great card for sealed. Snake Dance, 2-cost counter. It's 2-cost 4K counter, and then return up to 1 of your characters to the owner's hand. The trigger is you may return 1 of your characters to the owner's hand, and return up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less to their owner's hand. It's a 2-cost 4K. It's pretty solid. The trigger's kind of whatever. I would, you know, if you don't get any 2K counters, or if you get a very low amount of 2K counters, I would settle for something like this, but otherwise not really. Slave Arrow. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to go as fast as I can through these. We got so much to talk about. Slave Arrow. 1-cost counter. You may return up to 1 of your characters with a cost of 2 or more to the owner's hand. Then, if you do that, because it is bold and before the colon, up to 1 of your leader or character cards gains plus 4,000 power during this battle. So it's a 1-cost 4K counter, and the trigger is draw 2 cards and place 2 at the bottom of your deck in any order. So draw 2 and put 2 at the bottom. This card's not bad, honestly, because maybe you can actually save your character with a cost of 2 or more. Yeah, you probably could save your character with this, guys. This is probably not a bad card for sealed, especially for the very good players, right? So, like, say you attack in with 1 of your bigger characters, like a 6-cost 8K like Boa we just saw. Okay, well, if they go to smash into it for like 10 because they have no other way to remove it, you can pay 1 to just bounce that card back to your hand to save it from the attack. That's one option, I think. We'll have to see, but I think this card's pretty solid for sealed. Perfume Femur requires 7 Warlords of the Sea typing. If you have enough of that, by all means run it, but otherwise it's not really a great card for sealed. Island of Women, 1 cost, activate main, trash this card. You may trash 1 card, you may trash 1 card from your hand and rest the stage. And if your leader has Kucha Pirates type, yeah, we're not going to really worry about this card, guys. Foxy, this is not a great card for sealed. This is not a very good leader for sealed. Outside, you know, in constructed, it's goated, right? It's the best deck in format. I'm just kidding, right? I know some people. I've got some diehard Foxy fans. You know, y'all got to say something in the chat if you're listening to this. But no, seriously, not a great card in sealed, guys. Not a great leader in sealed. Okay, Ito Mimizu is a 3-cost, 0-power, 1k counter, activate main once per turn. If your leader's Foxy Pirates, then you can ramp a Dawn. Not really what we're going for. Vinsmoke Sanji, 1-cost, 0-power, 1k counter, on play Dawn -1. If your leader has the Vinsmoke family type, draw a card. Not what we're going for. Again, Vinsmoke Reiju, 1-cost, 2,000 counter, or 2,000 power, 1k counter. On play, if the number of Dawn cards in your field is equal to or less than the number on your opponent's field, return up to one of your Vinsmoke family type characters with a cost of 1 to the owner's hand. We're not trying to do this weird combo stuff in draft, guys. Completely avoid it. Okay, 3 costs, 4,000 power, 1k counter. This guy's name is Capote. On play, Dawn -1. If your leader has Foxy Pirates type. Again, guys, I mean, man, you would have to draft such a perfect Foxy Pirates type deck out of 6 cards, guys. I would recommend avoiding all of these purple cards so far. Yes, it's a 3-cost, 4,000 power, 1k counter body, but that's really about it. Okay, now this card I would not avoid. This one's fine because it is bare minimum a 2k counter, and it's a 6-cost, 6k blocker. I understand you're probably not going to be able to... How do I say it? You're probably not going to get that extra special effect off very often. If the number of Dawn cards in your field is at least 2 less than the number on your opponent's field, give it -3 cost. You're probably not going to get that effect off very often, but it doesn't matter because it's a 2k counter and it's a 6-cost 6k with blocker. So solid card to pick up. 2k counter, add this one. Yep, excuse me. Guys, like I was saying, 2k counter cards in sealed are very hard to come by. I think all the ones we saw so far were uncommon or rares, so snag those when you can. Okay, Tony Chopper, 2 costs, 0 power, 1k counter, blocker. Absolute include right there. And then on play, if the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to or less than the number in your opponent's field, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. We're probably not going to get that effect off much in a sealed draft. Who cares? It's a 2-cost blocker. We do take those. You know, that's the only cheap cards I take in sealed typically are blockers. That's actually really solid for later in the game to fill out your turns efficiently. Okay, this is just a 1-cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter vanilla. Like I said, vanilla cards are incredible in sealed, but not really the super low cost ones like this. Like, I would say starting at 3 cost and higher, so I would probably avoid this card. I mean, it's not the worst card to play early on to put on early pressure, especially if you're going to go Zoro as your leader, or maybe even Dragon. But, like, generally speaking, I would stay away from cards like this. I don't know. Maybe if you can get like 2 or 3 of them in your deck, it's hard to say, guys. Because if you get it late in the game, it is an absolute brick. I mean, yeah, it's still a 1k counter, but for people who do a lot of sealed drafting, it really depends. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Hamburg, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter. Okay, this is a good stat line no matter what the Dawn effect is, but it is Dawn ×1 when attacking. If the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to or less than the number on your opponent's field, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. That doesn't matter. It's at least still a 5-cost 6k body with a 1k counter. This is fine for sealed. Same with this one. Oh, it's kind of low like that Capote card we looked at. I think his name was 3 costs, 4,000 power, 1k counter, Pickles. If the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to or less than the number of your opponent's field, your Foxy Pirates type characters other than Pickle cannot be KO'd by effects. It's just too specific in my opinion, guys. I'd stay away from it. Okay, now this is a really strong static character. 6 cost, 7,000 power, 1k counter. And then on play, if the number of Dawn cards in your field is equal to or less than the number on your opponent's field, play up to 1 Foxy Pirates type card with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So this card, Big Bun, is actually solid, especially into... Wait, was it a 4 or less? I don't think we had any good 4 or less targets, but whatever the case is, this is still just a very strong body character, so very solid. Foxy... This card is so good, but it is leader locked. Like, it's still a 7-cost, 7,000 power character. If you didn't get any other big characters for your deck, I'd run this. Because that Activate Main is not leader locked. Activate Main once per turn, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. Who knows? Maybe that'll help you get to 10 Dawn faster. You know, not super practical. Not super practical in sealed. I will say that. But it is a 7-cost, 7k body. Okay. Porsche, 3 cost, 5,000 power with the potential to cheat out cards. So this card here is on play, Dawn -1, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Foxy Pirates type card and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order and play up to 1 purple character card with 4,000 power or less from your hand. Notice that it can play out any 4,000 power or less purple character card, but it searches only for Foxy Pirates. You'll have to, you know, it's a 3 cost 5k, but it doesn't have a counter, so it's a little bit rough. I don't know if I'd recommend it for sealed unless you just have no other option. Okay. Monkey D. Luffy, 6 cost, 7,000 power. Activate main once per turn, Dawn -3. If your opponent has 3 or more characters, set this character as active. So this is not too bad, especially if we were talking about, like, if you got Foxy and this card here, where to get right here, because you can Dawn -3 and then ramp that Dawn back with the Foxy card you have, and then you'll be able to swing twice with this character. This is not bad. It is lacking a counter, which hurts, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But it does require your opponent to have 3 or more characters. Okay, but not the worst thing in the world either, right? That could potentially happen pretty often in sealed with like the smaller bodies. Okay. 2 cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter, activate main, trash this character if your leader has Foxy Pirates. Okay, we're going to stay away from that. Slow Beam. 1 cost counter, Dawn -1. Give up to one of your opponent's leader or leader and character cards minus 2,000 power during this turn. This is solid. You will go backwards in Dawn, which will turn on some of the effects we just talked about. So, you know, if you're a very talented player, a very skilled player with good sealed experience and you know how to draft, this card's probably not too bad. But otherwise, I don't know. I would probably stay away from it because I'm going backwards in Dawn. I'd have to have some kind of support to go with this to justify playing it. But it is a 1 cost -2 to a leader and a character. So honestly, I don't know. Maybe it is good as like a 1 or 2 of in the deck if you get it. But it is an uncommon. Okay, Slow Beam Sword. This is a common 2 cost, Dawn -1 counter. Up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 2,000 power during this battle. Then rest one of your opponent's characters. Now this card is good, period, because it almost acts as removal. It shuts down one of their attacks, which protects you, and it shuts down the attack they just swung with, right? Because you 2k countered out of it basically. And it taps on one of their characters, though. So, yes, it saved you from, like, 2 attacks, and then you can smash into that character. The trigger is not great. Add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. That's not horrible, but it's also not great. This is fine. I think this card is absolutely solid to play in Sealed. Okay, top 5 searcher for these kind of cards. This is not really what we're going for in Sealed. Megaton Ninetails Rush. If the number of Dawn cards on your field is equal to or less than the number on your opponent's field, set up to one of your Foxy cards as active. This is too specific, not what we're going for in Sealed. All right, Rob Lucci. This is not the worst card. This is not the worst leader if you can get some kind of cost-related effects. But generally speaking, we're going to probably stay away from this leader for better options. Awesome art. Look at that art, guys. So good. Okay, Kaku. 4 cost, 5k with a 2k counter. Absolutely. You snag this when you can get it. Okay, and it is a rare, though. It is a rare. 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter. Dawn ×1. Give all your opponent's characters -1 cost. That's fine. Again, if you get enough effects that are like cost related, then running something like this is not a bad idea. It's actually not bad at all, right? And it is, you know, it's a 4 cost 5k with a 1k counter. This card's absolutely fine. Okay, we got Captain John here. 2 cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter. Thriller Bark Pirates type. The effect is on play. Trash 2 cards from the top of your deck and give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for the turn. We're going to want to stay away from that in Sealed, guys. You only have a 40-card deck. I would not mess with cards like this. They're going to potentially, you know, deck you out of the game. Got to be careful with this one. Okay, Gecko Moria. 4 costs, 5,000 power, 1k counter. Activate main. Place 4 Thriller Bark Pirates type cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order. It'll get banished to +1k. We can't really depend on that we can't really depend on this kind of card in Sealed. Now, it is a 4 cost 5k with a 1k counter. If you have no other better options in that slot, go ahead and run it. But otherwise, I'd stay away. Okay, 2 cost 2,000 power, 1k counter, blocker. Absolutely solid card. This is a great card to have as a blocker. Now, Stussy is an absolute beast in Sealed. As long as you can keep one character on the field, which you should be able to do in Sealed. Guys, this card is removal. It is a bruiser. It is just everything you need. This card is an absolute beast. This is an auto-include. Okay, 3 costs, 4,000 power, 1k counter, Spandam. On play, trash 2 cards from the top of your deck and give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 costs for the turn. Not really what we're going for, guys. It's just not what we're going for, right? Like, we trashing 2 cards from the top of your life is already dangerous enough or not from your life, from your deck in Sealed. But if you want to try it, by all means, give it a go. 2k counter, auto-include. Hattori, 2k counter, auto-include. Like I said, up until you get to at least like 8 to 10 2k counters, I would include those for sure. All right, incredible. So this is an absolute beast in Sealed. 6 costs, 8,000 power, 1k counter. We take those. Awesome bruiser. Morgans. This is probably a pretty good card in Sealed. It's a 2 cost, 2,000 power, 1k counter. On play, your opponent trashes a card from their hand. They get to pick, and then they reveal their hand. So you know it's in their hand, and then they get to draw 1 card. So you'll know everything but 1 card. This is a very, very strong card in Sealed, guys. The body doesn't really matter, but think about it. You want to play this on turn 1 or 2, like on your 2 Dawn or your 3 Dawn turn. Play this out so you know what's coming from their, in their next few turns. Really solid. Okay, Monkey D. Luffy. Now, this card is an absolute banger. This is a beast in sealed as well because it's a 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter. When attacking, trash up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. Okay, that gets around all the little blockers. Then place, the next part, don't worry about. The main thing is you're going to be able to trash 2 cost or lower characters. So this would give you some, if you draft this card because it's a rare, if you get this in your sealed, this is a card maybe you do mess around with some cost reduction in, like whether it be, you know, getting a leader that has cost reduction built in, like the new Lucci, or maybe you, I don't know, you know, this is a very solid card though, guys, because it's a beater and it has a 1k counter baked in. Really good. 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1k counter, Joseph. On play, you may place 2 cards with the type including CP from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order. 2 specific guys, yeah, it KOs a 1 or less, but even that, who cares about that, right? And you might not even have 2 CP cards in your trash at the time when you're playing sealed, so I would avoid. Another absolute banger, guys. This is another rare. 5 cost, 6,000 power, excuse me. 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter, on play. Place 3 cards from your trash at the bottom of your deck in any order. It doesn't matter what type they are. Because remember, the last one, you needed a CP type. This one doesn't care what type, but listen to this. Your opponent trashes 1 card from their hand, and then you may place up to 1 card from your opponent's trash at the bottom of their deck. The last part's not as good in sealed, but the first part is where they have to lose a card, and now you have this massive beater coming in. Shave, 1 cost, counter, up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 2,000 power during this battle. Then if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, return up to one of your characters of the type including CP to the owner's hand. Trigger, return up to one of your characters to the owner's hand. Not great in sealed, guys. I would avoid. Iron Body, 2 costs, counter, up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 4,000 power during this battle. Then if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, that card gains an additional plus 2,000 power during this battle. So this is just a nice 2 cost 4k, and then the trigger is up to one of your leader characters gains plus 1,000 for the turn. So this is not horrible for sealed, especially if you were low on 2k counters, because it's a potential 2 cost 6k later in the game. But whatever the case is, not horrible in sealed, but I would avoid it unless you just didn't get enough 2k counters. Tempest Kick is a 1 cost draw card. This is an auto include, in my personal opinion, when it comes to sealed. Because number one, it could potentially have cost reduction built in later in the game. For the cards we were talking about, like this Luffy card, you know, it could have some synergy with that. But worst case scenario, it's a 1 cost draw one. This card is absolutely worth running, and the trigger can KO at 3 or less. Auto include. Vegapunk, I would strongly suggest not running this card in sealed. Okay, or this leader rather. Now, this character here, on the other hand, though, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter, and if you have less life than your opponent, this card cannot be KO'd in battle. This card is solid. This is a really strong card. Okay, it's got some protection, but having less life than your opponent, you know, who knows? It's at least a 5 cost, 6k, 1k counter, which is solid with a potential upside. Now, the trigger won't work unless your leader's Vegapunk. Okay, Usopp, 1 cost. Okay, this is a 2k counter, auto include. Edison, 2k counter, withdraw 2, trash 2. If you have 2 or less life cards, if you have 2 or less life cards, draw 2 and trash 2 cards from your hand. And then if your leader's Vegapunk, you can play it. I would say that this is a very solid card, though, no matter what, because it's a 4 cost 5k and a 2k counter and potential upside on play later in the game. Auto include. Shaka, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter, blocker. Again, this is an absolute auto include. Guys, I know I'm saying a lot of cards should be auto include, but remember, in a sealed draft, you're not going to see all of these cards. You're not going to see every one of these cards I'm saying in a sealed draft. So when I say auto include, it means, guys, high priority on these cards, because you're not going to see many, right? Because this is an uncommon. Okay. Next up is Jinbei, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1k counter. It's pretty much a vanilla with a trigger of return up to one of your opponent's characters that costs 4 less to the owner's hand, and add this card to your hand. Auto include. I would say this is an auto include because it's a 5 cost 6k with a 1k counter. That's already good enough for what we're doing in sealed. And then the potential trigger to bounce something and get this card back to your hand, very solid. Tony Chopper, 2 cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter. This is like the smaller version of Jinbei. Look at that, 5-6-1. This one's a 2-3-1. Up to one of your, yeah, I would not include this one though because the effect is too restricted. The effect, like this, can just return up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less to the owner's hand, and then you add this to your hand, right? You can just bounce back at 4 or less, this goes to your hand. But this card requires you to have an Egghead type character to gain blocker and then add it to your hand. It's not as good in my personal opinion. Now, this card is probably worth running no matter what. If you're going to run a 3-cost card that's understated, this is it. Well, actually, no, sorry, it's Egghead restricted, never mind. I would not run it, period. Okay, Pythagoras, 5 costs, 6,000 power, 1k counter, on KO, bring back an Egghead character that costs 4 less. If your leader's Vegapunk, play it. man, this is a last priority. If you have no other option for the 4 through 7, the 4 through 6 slot, then I guess you could run this because it's a 5 cost 6 hit 1K counter. But otherwise, I would stay far away from this card. Now, this card's pretty interesting. 4 cost, 6,000 power. Dawn times 1 when attacking, so you'll swing for 7. And if you have 1 or less life cards, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. It does seem very restricted where it's a 1. You have to have 1 or less life cards. That does hurt a little bit, but hear me out, guys. Think about it for a second. It's still a 4 cost 6K. The only downside to this card, period, is the fact it doesn't have a 1K counter. Otherwise, it's just a 4 cost 6K vanilla statted card with a potential strong effect. It is very conditional, that effect, but still very solid otherwise. I would include this if you don't have enough good 4 cost 6K vanilla cards. Frankie, auto include, is a 4 cost 5K with a 2K counter with potentially, trigger draws a card, and then if you have 1 or less life, you can play this card. This can help you swing lethal and things like that. Really, really incredible. Okay. 4 cost 6K vanilla, 1K counter. Absolutely include this. This Luffy, auto include, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter. Activate main, trash this card. Listen, guys. If you have 2 or less life cards, do not forget that. If you have 2 or less life cards, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less, and then draw a card. If you don't have 2 or less life cards, you're going to be very upset when your opponent says, hey, you couldn't do that, but your character did get trashed in the process. So you have to be very careful, guys. And the trigger just KOs a 4 or less without the draw card effect. This card, auto-include. 5 cost 6K, 1K counter, outstanding. Really cool looking art here, too. Okay, York, 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter. You may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. Okay, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 2 or less. If your leader's Vegapunk, play this card as a trigger. Not great for what we're trying to do in Sealed, but I will say this. You can still play it as a 5 cost 6K with a 1K counter. That's completely fine. I will say right now, guys, these 5 cost 6K, 1K counter cards in Sealed, those are solid. They're absolutely solid. Okay, even if the effect doesn't apply. Okay, Lilith is a top 5 searcher for Egghead, and it's just a 3 cost 5K. It's kind of the same. This is in the same camp as Porsche, where, like, okay, if you get enough cards that you think can go with this searcher, because they're both 3 cost 5,000 power cards with no counter. This one has a trigger, but it doesn't apply unless you're playing Vegapunk. I would not run this card personally unless I had no other choice, or unless I just had insane Egghead options. Yeah, because notice, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Egghead type card other than Lilith. So that part's not leader locked. Her trigger is, but the on play is not. But it is type locked. So you'll have to use your own discretion on that one, guys. Lucy, 6 cost, 7,000 power character. When attacking, once per turn, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand, and then you may rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters with the cost of 4 or less. Then if you have 1 or less life cards, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Awesome. This card, guys, in Sealed is excellent, because especially if you're down to 1 or less life cards, okay, then you're going to be able to get the life right back, right? So you're going to get the life right back, and you're going to potentially rest down a 4 or less. That could help you swing for lethal later in the game. This card, just thumbs up, excellent. This is one of my favorite arts for Zoro, guys. It's chill, but it's also serious. Let me not get started. This card looks so incredible. 5 cost, 6,000 power, 1K counter character, and then if your leader's Egghead, so who cares? This is just a solid 5 cost, 6K, 1K counter, guys. Yellow has a lot of them. Let me go over these real quick. This one's an uncommon. This was a common. This guy's a super rare. This is a common, but it's a 4 cost 6K. That one's really good. Frankie, 4 cost 6K common, 5 cost 6K uncommon. Hang on, sorry guys. 5 cost 6K common, 5 cost 6K uncommon, 4 cost 5K. That was a rare, right? No, Edison's a common, guys. So maybe we will get enough 2K counters in this one, because like I said, I've had drafts in the past where I didn't even get like 5 2K counters, where it feels so horrible. 5 cost 6K uncommon, yeah. So guys, yellow's going to have a lot of really strong cards for the Sealed draft, even if you don't get the Vegapunk, the Vegapunk buff. Okay, he possesses the world's most brilliant mind. Okay, this is an event. Triggers draw a card. I already like that, but it is a top 5 Egghead searcher. Not as great anymore. I would probably stay away from this one. Rayquaza Help. 1 cost. The triggers play up one of your Egghead type character cards with the cost of 5 or less from your trash, not from hand, from trash. And then counter if you have 2 or less life cards, up to one of your leader or characters gains plus 3,000 power during this battle. That counter's not bad, actually. This is probably worth running because it's not leader locked, but it is type locked for the trigger part. But like I said, guys, if you snag some of these 5-cost 6Ks, we just went over. There were so many 5-cost 6Ks. If you snag one of those, this card's really not too bad, to be honest. Okay, Blaze Slice. This card is cracked in every format. It is a 1-cost main/counter. Up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 1,000 power for this turn. Guys, remember, as a counter, main, we already know it's plus 1,000 for the turn, right? But as a counter, most of them are per the battle. This one's for the turn. So you'll have a 6,000 power leader on defense. And listen to this. Then if your opponent has 2 or less life cards, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. That costs 1, guys. And then trigger, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Insane. It's a rare for a reason. This is an auto include if you get it. Egghead, okay, end of your turn, if you have 3 or less life cards, have one of your Egghead type characters with a cost of 5 or less as active. Play this card with the trigger. Not really what we're going for. You'd have to draw an insane yellow draft to run this. Okay, now we're to the secrets, guys. The secret rares. 8 cost, 9,000 power Sabo. On play, you may trash 1 card from your hand, KO a 5 or less and a 3 or less. This card, auto include. Absolute auto include. It's a beater. It's removal. It's everything we want. This card and Stussy are probably the best cards in the entire set, guys. To be completely honest. Then we also and then one more card. There's one more card. Portcosti Ace, 10 cost, 10,000 power. On play, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Then if you have 2 or less life cards, this character gains Rush during this turn. So if you're at 1 life, you play this card down, you go to 2, you still have 2 or less life, Rush. 10 cost, 10k Rusher. This card, so Ace, Sabo, and Stussy are insane, guys. Like absolute, sorry if I'm spitting everywhere, guys. Absolutely insane characters for sealed. Okay, now, whoops, we got a treasure rare here, guys. Check out this treasure rare. Remember, anything you open up in that sealed pack, you can use. So you might be able to get a hold of this, but I don't know if I'd play this in my my sealed draft. I would immediately sleeve this and put it to the side. This is Purple's Trafalgar, the red-purple Trafalgar Law, basically. The 4 cost 5k, Dawn -1. If they have 7 more cards in hand, they have to trash 2 cards at random. Blocker. This card's incredible. Okiku, this is a 3 cost 5,000 power. Now, these are the special rares, right, guys? These are the specials. This is a 3 cost 5k with no counter. This is the old Okiku all the way back from OP01. Attach 1 Dawn when attacking excuse me, guys. Dawn times 1. Let me say that the correct way. When attacking once per turn, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. This card's insanely good. This is like a very strong early play. Another insanely strong early play is this Doflamingo. This is the top 5 searcher Doflamingo. It's not a searcher either. It just sets them where you want them. Okay, Izo. This is a top 5 searcher. I would not run this in your draft. And then Isho. We know this card's a beater. Incredible. If they have 6 or more cards in hand, they have to trash 2 at random. Okay, and the 5 cost Kid, the 5 cost Eustace Kid. This is the one that returns Dawn if you did Dawn -1 effect. Onami, incredible card as well. Trigger KOs a 5 or less. We all know what this does. Give Banish for a turn for 2 cost, 3k counter, or 3 cost, 1k counter. 2 cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter. Sorry, guys. I know I'm at the end here. Okay, that was the whole entire set, guys. If I left anything out, if I missed anything, please tell me in the comment section below. But that's what we're going to be looking forward to in OP07. That was a super fast blitz version, rush style of review for the set. Hopefully you guys were somewhere, hopefully I didn't go too fast. Most of the time I recommend you watch my videos on 2x speed, but this one you might have wanted to watch on 1x speed to get everything out of it, because I was trying to talk fast, because I just had to go through how many cards, guys? Let me see something. I just had to go through 120 cards, within an hour. So I tried to go as fast as I could for everybody's sake, but, hope y'all enjoyed that. If I missed anything, y'all tell me. But now we are going to shift over to a game on the sim. We do have a game to go over on the sim. But guys, I will say this just to wrap up with. Where is it? There it is. Just to wrap up, guys, I do think that OP07 will be a very, very fun sealed draft style tournament. Okay, for the pre-release. I think it's going to be a very fun format for sealed. Anything else I want to say? Let me just think, guys. I know it seems like I'm rambling, but I just want to make sure I cover everything real quick. Let me also remove the sealed thing. Try to get... Oh, actually, let me put it back up one more time. Notice in the bottom left corner of the screen, guys, bruisers, blockers, counters, removal, card draw. Prioritize that in your sealed. You want at least 10 bruisers. You want at least 10 blockers. You want at least 10 2K counters. And then the remaining 10 cards... you need to split between as much removal and draws as you can. And if you just don't have enough removal or draw, split amongst the rest because there's not a lot of it in sealed, then fill the rest with bruisers. That's what I would recommend. All right. Now, let's get into this game, guys. We got a game of Red-Blue Marco. There we go. A game of Red-Blue Marco versus Lucci. Speed's at 2x. We are good to go. Volume is off. So, guys, that was intense. This is going to be good to, like, kind of decompress after that. Don't forget to use your Marco's ability on turn 1, guys. Do not forget to use it. I just did it. Now, notice the version I'm running. I call this version the Spell Slinger build because it runs a lot of events. I mean, it runs a lot of events. Notice I've got Sanji's Pilaf there. I'm going to draw 2. I'm sorting out my life, or excuse me, I'm sorting out the top card of my deck each turn with my Marco, and I've got some clear going on, guys. Look at that. I've got 2 Fire Fists in hand. I've got a Silver's Rayleigh, all kinds of stuff. So right there, I go ahead and put a card back. And I think I'm just going to set my cards here. I just draw 2 more cards, play out an Ezo here, or I should have. I think I passed too quickly there. I remember. So real quick, guys, let me pause. I should have played out the Ezo there. Always be patient, guys. Sometimes I play too quickly, and I pass the turn as soon as I hit draw 2 cards, because I only had 1 Dawn left, so I thought, okay, it doesn't matter. I should have played out Ezo there. I got punished for playing too quickly and playing sloppy. Okay, Rebecca there. They're going to grab the card back, and they don't have anything on the board, so I'm not really threatened by anything. I'm just going to keep, developing my hand. Okay, so I play out an Ezo here, snag the ace card. I'm going to swing 6 here, see what he gives me, and then I'm going to do a top search. That's I go ahead and put a Fire Fist to the bottom because Fire Fist is not great against Lucci because they have this card called Sabo. Right, there's this really annoying card in the game called it's the 5-cost Sabo blocker that says you cannot KO my cards for this turn. But Gravity Blade Raging Tiger says I don't care. Right, that card is very strong. Okay, so my opponent they cleared out my Ezo there, not a big deal, and they tried to clear out my Marco. Is that what it was? I don't even remember seeing me play the Marco, guys. I'm sorry. Did I play that last turn? I just totally missed it, guys. I just we got to go back. We got to go back. So when did I play this Marco? Oh, to pop the Rebecca. Okay, now we're good. Now it's my turn. So I did a top search there with my leader effect. I set that card back. I didn't even see what it was. And we're going to swing 6 at life. We're going to swing 6 at life. And we're going to pop some cards now with Rayleigh. So I do minus 3,000. Pause. Minus 3,000 to Gecko Moria. So he's a 6K this turn. And then minus 2,000 with my leader earlier to Lucci. And then minus 2,000 more with Rayleigh to Lucci to put him at a 2K or whatever. And then I can pop him with Rayleigh's effect. All right. Just making sure we're all caught up there. Sorry, guys. Sometimes with these 2X games, especially after rambling as much as I've been rambling this video with all those cards I went over, I'm starting to fall behind a little bit. So he's going to swing 5 at me. I'm like, okay, I can't let you just have that. Like, I can't just let him have a free 5 attack at me. You just can't do it. You just simply can't do it. Like, especially when he has that many cards in hand, each life card you have is so important here. Here he goes. He's gonna pop Rayleigh and the Marco. But guess what? Marco I can get back. No problem as long as it's a KO effect. Then he swings in for 6 with Gecko Moria. I take it. I probably should have 2K countered out there. It is what it is. Okay, so I put the Seaquake back. I think I put it on the bottom. I go minus 3 there, minus 2 from the leader, swing 6 into 4. By all means, defend it. Give me a 2K and a 1K, please, right? I will absolutely take that. I guess he didn't realize that was a misplay unless he was trying to feed his trash. Okay, then I swing 6, then I swing 7. He's down to 1 life, and I've got 2 Dawn active for 2 Rad Beams. Okay, I'm feeling very, very confident in this game. I'm feeling very, very confident. He is able to use his stage, minus 2 to my ace, pop it with Kuzan. I don't know about Kuzan, guys. I don't think Kuzan is the way to go currently. I just don't think it is. So I use my Rad Beam there to save it, or to save my Marco. He swings 5 at face. I end up countering out with an Ezo. Now it's time to go for lethal. We're going to go for 10. We're going to go for 11. GG. Okay, always take into consideration, when you have to go for lethal, because I probably could have made it one more turn, but as the turns go on, your opponent gets more and more chances to climb out of whatever hole they're in. Because look at the board, guys. He has the board. I don't have the board. Like, yes, technically what I could have done there is just gone 5 at face, 6 at face, double Marco. That is an option. That is something I could have done, sat on a double Rad Beam. But swinging for 10. Remember, guys, he had 5 cards in hand, and then he had the card in his life was actually a stage. Look, that looks funny. You see how there's 3 stages? We can see one on top of his deck, one trash, one on field. But that was his top life card, and he has 0 counter in hand. Excuse me, he has a 1K counter in hand. So if I swing for 10, he has to give me 3 2K counters to get out of that, and then 11 is going to be 3 2K counters and a 1K. So I just straight up called his bluff. I said, you either have it or you don't, man. And if he had blocked out on my first one, then what I would have done, here was the beauty about swinging for 4 up front. Excuse me. The beauty of swinging for 4 at first here is if he counters out of this attack, then I'm going to drop a Marco and sit on double Rad Beam, and I still have 2 life, so I'm going to make it out either way. Good stuff there. Let me give you guys this list so we can wrap up this video. This one lasted a while, didn't it? This video here went on a pretty long time. All right, so here's the list, guys. I will post it down in the comment section below. Hope y'all enjoyed. Let me go over it real quick. I call it SS for Spell Slinger. 4 Rad Beams, 4 Sea Quake, 4 Fire Fist, 2 Raging Blade, or Gravity Blade Raging Tigers, 4 Sanji's Flop, and 2 guard points. And I'm just trying to wipe the board early on with Fire Fist. And, you know, cards like Ace, cards like Marco. It runs 2 Sabo. I think I did copy-paste this list from a YouTuber, like from someone from the East. I don't know. I've played the deck more than this one time, and I'm not a huge fan of this card. I'm going to be honest. So I probably will get rid of this card for something else, even like a Vista, which would be nice for early game to combo with my Marco Leader effect. I'd also like to go up to 4 Otamas actually as well. So I might mess around, maybe drop 2 guard points to go up to 4 Otamas. We'll see. Yeah, still got a lot of work to do on this. We're still trying to figure out Marco, guys. If you know what to do, if you got a spicy build, by all means, send it my way. All right, guys, that's it. We're done. Hopefully, y'all are ready for the sealed draft on Friday. You know, at the time you're recording this video, remember, in the West, OP07 sealed tournaments for, you know, the pre-release are going to be this Friday, at least for a lot of people. I guess it kind of depends where, you know, what area you're in, but I believe Friday is when you can first start doing sealed, no matter what area you're in. Okay, so let me go ahead and throw up real quick the, well, that didn't sound right. I don't want to throw up. Let me throw up the playmat, guys here. Big shout out to all the people who support me. Thank you so much to everybody who bought the playmat. As you can see, I went through about, was it 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 23. Gone through 23 so far, so still have some left. Big shout out to everybody who supports my channel by buying the playmats. Thank you guys so much. And another big shout out to all the Patreon guys. You know, it's not just Patreon, it's anyone who, this is just the VV Pirates patron page. So if you help me out in any other way other than the mat, like, so if you're helping me out with like a membership or on Patreon or just donations, your name goes on here. So big shout out to you guys. Thank y'all so much. And thank you to everyone who watches the channel. The channel is just growing like crazy. I really appreciate you guys. It's a good feeling when I see everybody who's like, you know, checking out the content, and for the people who enjoy it, and even for the people who don't enjoy it. I'm cool with that. You know, my style's not for everybody, right, guys? I get it. But yeah, I don't want to go on too much about that. Thank y'all so much again. Please do not forget to like and subscribe if you have not already, guys. And hope y'all enjoyed. And as usual, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, especially in reference to the sealed draft coming up, please post them down in the comment section below. Ask it now while you can before the sealed tournament happens, before the pre-release tournaments happen. All right, that's it. Until next time, guys. Peace.